Philadelphia, are you ready?
They said, are you ready?
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome everybody to Brotherly Love Wrestling live here on Facebook, and our guest today is Erica Leigh. Erica, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, I wanted to start off with, I didn't necessarily find out about you through wrestling. I just happened to see a post that was shared, and it was you reviewing what I had just recently started eating, and now are my favorite gummy bears, the Albanese gummy bears. So I was like, how did this show up on my feed? And I was like, who's shared this? And then I clicked on it. I was like, he's a wrestler? And then I guess that's the avenue I took of how I started watching your wrestling, is through gummy bears. So
that's so funny. I love that. I love that so much. Why did you start eating Albanese gummy bears?
You know what? I was always old school with the Haribo. Or Haribo, however you say. And then I kind of stepped up to Black Forest. Okay.
Natural progression here. I'm seeing it.
And then I saw these Albanese, and I saw that they had so many different flavors. I was like, now this is interesting.
This is interesting.
They're bigger, they're juicier, and the flavor is that much better. I mean, I was blown away. I was like, this is what I've been missing out on this whole time. But they sell like 5-pound bags. I'm like, oh, this.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they have gummy bears, gummy worms, butterflies, peach rings, a bunch of stuff. They sent me like a box of stuff. I had like the ultimate bears, the regular bears. They sent me like the 5-pound bag. Sour bears. What was the other one? It was like sherbet bears. Do you guys remember like the Lifesavers, cream savers?
Yes.
They're like really that, good. But gummies.
Now, can you eat a lot of them, or are they more like? Because I remember
no,
the Lifesavers.
I don't eat a ton of candy. Anyway.
Why usually into the candy review business if you don't eat a lot of candy?
Because I just have a lot of opinions, you know.
I mean,
so I
have a lot of opinions too, but I don't know if I would have went the candy review route.
Well, you know,
that's the way people's minds work, though.
It was a really random way to start. I think my partner handed me some Nerds rope or one of those filled Twizzlers or something, and I just hated it so much. So I was like, I gotta dunk on this. Fire up the camera. The world must know.
That's the way we do things nowadays. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm so glad you started eating Albanese gummy bears. They're literally the world's best candy, the world's best gummy bears, which is their tagline. They nailed it. I could advertise for them 24/7.
No, I just tried the tropical ones. They're like tropical fruit and vegetable. They're interesting.
I've never even seen those.
There's there's a pear one, but it's mixed with something else, and then there's like a dragon fruit, or there's it's like exotic.
Is that the ultimate flavors bag, or is it like tropical? I'll have to look. I'll have to do some more research.
Yeah, do some research and double check me. I know it was definitely, because I didn't realize that I got it, that it was different, and I opened it up and I was like, whoa, who's that?
Whoa.
It's like one of those where you go, whoa, and then you go,
oh. It's that the kombucha meme, right? Where she's
it goes like this. Like that, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Did I hit it?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I wanted this to start. No wrestling whatsoever. We just did this.
I do have one more story though that has to do with you're not the first person who's told me that they did not know me for my wrestling first. I actually, after the Fight Forever show, after GCW show, where I was on the Camp Leapfrog Cybernetico block, I saw someone tweet about me. They said, I finally saw the pee pee poo poo girl wrestle. And I lost it. I was like, this is so perfect. Like, pee pee poo poo tweez first, wrestling second. All right. I thought that was pretty incredible. I was like, that's great. Social media is so important.
It really is. Though that's the thing. It really is so important to get your, especially now with kind of, it's not at a standstill anymore, but it's kind of still just getting its bearings back with wrestling. So being known for social media and being able to get yourself over on there is almost just as important. I mean, I know live crowds are important to interact and engage the crowd because that's what you're there for. But I mean, the internet crowd has become just as important as the live.
Right. In the absence of live crowds, we've definitely had to like shift. I don't want to say shift focus or shift priority, but there's been such an emphasis put on your online presence and like your like extracurricular content to stay like relevant to, you know, like the entertainment business while you can't entertain. And definitely now we're seeing more shows come back. And there's more work to be done, more wrestling to do now than say in June. But yeah, social media has been like so important over the last 8-9 months.
I mean, it looks like you have fun with it, at least. I mean, it looks
so much fun. And I think that's really why I started to find more like traction and get better engagement with people than when I was just tweeting like, or, you know, sharing on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, just like, here's like the next thing that I'm doing, or like, here's the show that got canceled. Like once I started to really have fun with it and just kind of let more of my like personality out, I definitely got better engagement and better traction on the Twitter. It's a little easier to be like kind of silly and not so serious on Twitter. I feel like Facebook is where you go to have an argument, and you can definitely find that on Twitter. I'm not saying that Twitter's like this like happy rainbows and puppies place, because there's plenty of ugliness on Twitter, but I kind of keep to my own little corner and try to like tune all of that out, because I definitely don't go to social media to get stressed out and sad and angry.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that the people do get so worked up through social media. It's hard to, being like growing up, like it's hard to imagine that someone, I don't know, 500, 600, 700 miles away could piss me off to the point. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you're never gonna, you might never meet any of these people ever in real life.
Right.
Why get so angry? Why? It never made too much sense. But I mean, it shows that like your personality, and it makes you more relatable, and which is kind of what you want in the wrestling world nowadays, is like more relatability is big. I mean, larger than life personality obviously is huge, but being relatable to people, I mean, makes them want to root for you more. I mean, and if people want to root for you for poo poo pee pee tweet tweets, then I mean, by all means, I think you ride that out.
I'm gonna ride it to the moon, I swear. Yeah, no, it's so true. I think a lot of what I've been taught about social media in regards to professional wrestling is that it's not just a way to promote yourself, but a way for people to connect with you. And if you aren't at least a little bit vulnerable or a little bit like personal on your social media, it's going to be harder for people to want to buy in. So you're definitely like completely right. The more you show like yourself and the more you let people into your personal life, the more easy it is, or the easier it is for them to connect with you as a character and like an in-ring performer. Not to say that you should like post your address or anything, but you know.
Yeah. No, nowadays it's more. I mean, when we were growing up and watching wrestling, you just cared what happened in the ring and what you saw on TV and whatnot. Now I feel like majority of people want to get like a peek behind the curtain just to feel satisfied, like just to have a little bit of peace of mind. Like, oh, I know this happens now. It's just, I mean, you kind of have to give them just a little bit just to
For
keep them
sure.
around.
There's no like going backwards in terms of what fans understand and know about the business. So like there's no way that you could try to maintain. I do actually really like when people maintain kayfabe through social media if they do it like in like fun ways. Like I think it can get like a little stagnant if you don't try really hard. So I really appreciate when people put in the effort. But yeah, there's no like convincing people that you're 8 feet tall and whatever if you're not, right? So like you can't play the character on Twitter so much as you can like if people weren't hip to the biz, you know what I mean? Like you can't claim that you burned your brother alive or whatever, your parents alive. Like it just doesn't work. Like
Well,
you
you could check a simple news report and that.
right, yeah. Like it is just imperative to be like a little bit honest with yourself and your fans through social media, because it's just obvious at this point. So you're right about that again.
So going off of that, how are you able in the ring and when you're wrestling and doing your character, how are you able to stretch the imagination to a point of where people will still get it?
Like how creative can you be with your character? Is that?
Yeah, like how do you make people suspend the belief like they used to? Like not like they used to, but in this day and age.
Yeah, I think that's the eternal question that's on everybody's mind, right? Like if I had like a 3-point answer for you right now, I probably wouldn't be sitting on the floor in my house on, you know what I mean? Like trying to scrap together my next merch project. Like,
Wow, I feel like I went too deep with this question.
No. I think there's so much room for us to play, especially right now. Like I said, we don't have the live crowds. There's so much room for us to play with cinematic matches. And I think that's really where I hope promotions put more effort, because I think that's where we can get the biggest payoff right now in terms of like suspending the disbelief and getting people engaged and excited about the product. If purely just because of logistics, like if you can't get people in the building, bring the product to their homes. But cinematic matches really let you like put your best foot forward in terms of like, okay, did we like that angle? Can we shoot it a different way? What looks best? And like, you know, what would be a realistic bump in the ring in front of a live crowd becomes so much more, there's so many more options there when you're shooting it beforehand for a cinematic match. So I think that's really right now on the independent level, like where we should be putting our efforts if we want to like expand and like push the envelope on suspending disbelief for our audiences.
All right, well, I'll play off of that and I'll throw you a layup question. I mean, suspending belief and who you've been working for currently, Camp Leapfrog. I mean, this is a wrestling-based camp. I mean, you're suspending belief right there. I mean, how has it been working for Camp Leapfrog or attending the camp, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm a proud member of the Best Campers Ever team. I love being a camper. Camp Leapfrog is definitely a unique promotion in that it's like heavily thematic, which you don't see a lot of, and started post-pandemic, right? So we've had, I guess, like the advantage of starting that, starting all of our like habits in this environment. So it's been a learning process, but I feel like we've we haven't had to make any adjustments, right? From like, oh no, we lost our crowd. Now what do we do? It's always been like, okay, we're shooting this for IWTV. Yeah, it's definitely not like anywhere else, right? You go to summer camp and turn into a werewolf, or you go to summer camp and have a sleepover. Like, there are really, really fun themed shows, and I'm really glad and grateful for the opportunity to work with them. It's been so much fun.
And we've said this before because we've interviewed quite a few of the campers already, and that's what shows. It shows the fun aspect. I mean, we don't watch it for the realism, quote unquote. We watch it because we want to have fun. And when you see people having fun, it's kind of like, all right, now we're having more fun because it looks like you're having fun. So it's kind of like an infectious ingredient in wrestling, is that these people are actually having fun. They're not there to work, so to speak. I mean, they're there to work, but it doesn't look like it's tiring or they're forced to be there or anything like that, or they're not having any fun. I mean, and that makes it easier to watch. And it's all part of that relatability that we were talking about before.
For sure. Yeah. The job is to like bring the energy and bring something fun to people. So my roommate was just talking to me about this the other day. He watches a lot of like video game playthroughs, and he's an artist himself. So he understands like the work that goes into creating content to be consumed. And like when your passion and your artwork is like the product, it can be really hard to separate out like your intent versus what people are going to receive or how they're going to interpret it. But he was saying that there's this one YouTuber that he really likes to watch because she feels like a friend. And he was like, I know that's like the purpose of the video. Like, they're never going to meet. They're never going to be friends. He understands that. But because she's so dynamic and engaging, that like the purpose of the video is to feel like she's your friend, and she nails it. And he was like, just like explaining this whole concept to me. And I was like, that's Camp Leapfrog. Like watching people have fun, watching people be friends, watching people form like alliances or relationships, or like, having their feuds all in that little world of summer camp is like, that's what we're trying to do. And I hope that we're succeeding, because it feels fun. It feels like we're taking people there with us.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose. I know we've seen a lot of them in Shakar before, and that was kind of that same atmosphere there, is that it was very engaging. The crowd was part of the show, and it seems like it kind of carried over into Camp Leapfrog with the same type of feel.
Yeah, for sure. There's a ton of us that were previously at Shakar or trained at the Wrestle Factory. I was only there for about 6 months, but that's where I met most of the people at Camp Leapfrog. So it definitely has like a lot of that energy carried over, just because there's so many people that had already worked together in that environment. And I feel like those relationships and dynamics are bigger than like, the promotion they were at, because you have all these characters that have like previous relationships with each other. So definitely that energy is like very similar, and like the family friendly kind of atmosphere as well.
Yeah, you don't see too many troublesome people at a camp show.
Not too many, no. There's some goons, but not too many troublemakers. Goons.
Oh, and the cool thing about Leapfrog is, like, every time you watch it, you almost feel like, how didn't someone do this already? Because of how well it works, then the idea works. And when you had the sleepover and you had the Halloween, like every theme that keeps coming, Christmas trio is another one. Like, it just, everything fits in, and it's almost like, man, this idea has been sitting here this whole time, and just it took the right people to make this the perfect promotion as far as having fun, but also watching really good wrestling.
That is so exciting to hear. Thank you. That feels really good to hear. Yeah, I feel like the ideas are really unique, but like you said, like obvious. Like you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, like why wouldn't we have, a Halloween party with monsters and witches, and why wouldn't we do that in wrestling? Of course. So that's great to hear that you see it that way. That's cool.
See, we're just a bunch of fanboys. We just moonlight as podcasters.
I mean, I'm just a fan who moonlights as a wrestler, right?
All right, so we'll touch on that. I see your shirt, 123 Kid.
It's a great shirt, by the way.
Thank you. I got this from.
I can see the top part, but I knew the mullet.
Yeah, you know who it is just from the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love X-Pac, Six, 123 Kid. He's my favorite wrestler.
Now that was growing up. Is that who you kind of had your eyes on, and is that who you model after today?
Growing up, I didn't watch wrestling.
I had a feeling that's what that meant. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I came to it much later in life. But in my studies, I've found that I really like watching X-Pac. I like watching Test. I like watching Val Venus. Can't really say that too much because he's a trash person, but like as a wrestler in 2000, 2001, like he was great. 2001 SmackDown is my happy place. That's what I put on when I just want to feel good. Yeah, I think my favorites are like kind of weird, but
they are a little off my typical favorites. I mean, I agree.
I have a random Val Venus story.
Mm-hmm.
Would love to hear it.
It was the next morning after the 11th grade dance, and we all went to Denny's. Like I think we were still hungover. I don't know how much sleep we got, but it was probably about 9 o'clock. We're all sitting there, and because my friends were all wrestling fans too. We were watching at the time, and one of them looks over, and Val Venus is sitting there by himself with a booklet that's about this thick, with a cup of coffee, and that's about it. And one of the waitresses went over to him and be like, "Can I have your autograph?" So he's sitting there by himself, just chilling at a Denny's. I think it was Rumble. It was a pay-per-view weekend in Philly. So one of the most random people to see in a Denny's by themselves, reading the script for that night. And this was right to censor Val Venus. This wasn't Val Boski.
No. So did he give her an autograph?
Yeah, he gave her a hug, a kiss, and an autograph. And she was a Denny's waitress, so she's fucking. She probably still talks about this to this day, just like I am right now. This is probably like highlight type stuff right now. This is like, okay, we had our first child. I love
that thought.
I met Val Venus and Denny's. That was probably it.
I love the thought, the idea that you're telling this story, and like somewhere like 100 miles away, she's also telling this story right now.
Exactly. This is parallel universe type stuff right now. This is like we're running this life.
That is super weird and random by himself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he just wasn't liked back then either. He just.
Judging like.
Just a cup of coffee.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe we don't need to look too far into it, but based off of his like, horrible views, like I wouldn't want to be friends with him.
No, you wouldn't have said that back in the day, though.
No.
But we didn't know. We don't know.
It's crazy. It's crazy what you find out about. It's like it almost makes you like, okay, so we catch shit for being a wrestling fan all through growing up, and now like the people that you see nowadays, and you're like, oh man, these people were trash. Like, there's a reason we were made fun of when we were younger. Like, they don't give us a good name. You're not helping our cause right now. So now I think like going forward, we're like what we think of is just like, please let this person be a good person when we talk to them, because we have gotten burned from people on the show that have turned out to be.
That's enough. You don't even have to go forward. Yeah.
But like, it's just like we know no one's perfect, but I mean, come on. Like,
yeah, it is tough. Like how much can you separate the art from the artist? I feel like in wrestling, especially when you look backwards in time and you watch older stuff, like it's an impossible task to even consider that. Like, you kind of have to put blinders on and just like, just gravitate towards whatever you find entertaining and try not to think about it. But it's definitely like an unavoidable question today. Like, you definitely can't, you can't like just say like, hey, my personal life is my personal life. And so what if I said all this horrible, horrible stuff? Like, just appreciate my work. Like, it just doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah, and it's almost like fans, like us as fans, were like, oh man, like we only feel it's secondary. Like the people that actually have to work with the people, it's just like we don't even know what they feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough position to be in when you're not a name and you're not able to make sort of like requests of promotions. Like, if you feel uncomfortable working with someone and you think you might, suffer professionally by saying something about it, like it's just a tough position to be in. And it's always going to be harder for talent who are already marginalized. So like people of color and women and queer wrestlers like are always going to be in a tougher position to like stick up for themselves and point out like bad behavior in locker rooms. So it shouldn't be on those people to like avoid complete dickheads, but like I don't want to like cost myself bookings based on who's working where. So it's a tough position to be in when you would just like hope that other people would like not book awful people.
Now in the year 2021, does that seem like it's getting better most places, at least?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's hard to say because like there's really not that many shows running, so you can't like look at like a full schedule a couple months in advance and be like, okay, I've got this place and this place and this place, and like take a look at the cards and like see all the people that are booked. There's just not that much going on, and we are like not super far removed from this summer where we saw a lot of people being a little bit more candid on social media with their views politically. After George Floyd was murdered by the police, we saw a lot of people talking really openly about that. And then with the speaking out movement, we saw people talking more openly about how women are treated in the business. And obviously a lot of names came up, and there were a lot of people who were sort of excommunicated from the industry. So I don't know if we're going to see that trend continue or reverse or plateau. It's kind of hard to tell right now without there being like a full regular schedule of shows. It is interesting to see like certain names will pop up, periodically, just because they're either putting themselves in the news or something else happens, or old clips will resurface and people will be like, oh my God, I can't believe you worked with him. And they're like, oh my God, this is 3 years old. Like, like there's sort of like a cycle of like news that gets like brought up and then buried and brought up and then buried. So it is hard to tell where we're going as a business, but I'm hopeful that we're sort of weeding out bad practices.
I mean, the bad thing about social media is that it never forgets. So unfortunately.
Oh my God, no, yeah, never. Screenshots are for forever.
So are poo-poos and pee-pee tweets.
Yeah, poo-poos and pee-pees are like a smash hit though. I don't think
it's so weird that I see this and people like this is like people are like this is getting a lot of traction.
And I think we have to inform people where this comes from. Because
I don't even know where it comes from. I just saw it. I was like, what the hell? I was like, I'm guessing she's going for like some sort of baby Tourette's type.
I definitely wasn't thinking of it as like a Tourette's gimmick, but yeah, I don't remember why I tweeted poo poo pee pee the first time.
And it's
I'm trying to remember and I can't. God, I don't know why at all. No clue. I'm trying to like trace back. I'm like, what came first, the baby voice tweez or the poo poo pee pees? And none of it makes sense even to me. I do know that I recorded a voice tweet in baby voice, and I couldn't publish it. Like I couldn't do it. It was so horrific. Like I can't. I'm not gonna do it for you now. It's like unbearable.
We're not gonna...
Yeah, no. But I drew the line there. I know that, but
like
no clue why I started doing that.
I didn't want to bring it up, but I was like, you know what? It's just like it's so like bizarre to see, and you're just like, and it's like I have to. It's like kind of like one of those like car crash. You can't look away. You're like, this is what, and you try and figure it out. You're like, no, and then people are like responding to it. You're like, what the hell's going on here?
People love it. It's great. I don't know why.
I mean, I find it amusing that people find it that amusing, and that's like I'm a third party amusement.
Right. There's like layers to this here, you know. Like maybe you're not into poo poo pee pee, but you're really into people being into poo poo pee pee. So
like, I find it fascinating. It's like, now, man, you really see what people enjoy on the internet.
I look at it this way, right? And I only just made this realization like yesterday or today. This is not part of my like thought process in tweeting any of this, but Priscilla Kelly got so much crap for the tampon spot, and now she's signed to WWE. So like, I think we have like this imaginary bar for what's appropriate in wrestling, and like the answer is like all bodily functions are fair game, I think.
I mean, in the history of wrestling, I mean, there has been quite a few instances where bowel movements have been used in wrestling and it has gotten over. So, I mean, what was it? DX had Vince McMahon covered in shit. So, I mean,
yeah, him and them in the Spirit Squad.
Yeah. So, I mean,
now I'm doing like a mental trace, and I think one of the earlier tweets about poo poo was when I was trying to get Still Life to do a puke or poop match with me.
What? And why though? And you knew this wasn't going to happen.
No chance. It could never happen. But I think I tweeted something about, are you a pooper or are you a puker? Because I find that generally like it's one or the other, right?
It depends on what kind of stomach virus you have. Sometimes you're both.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes both. We've all been there. But I think I tweeted that, and Still Life was just like disgusted with me. She was like, please stop, get this off my timeline. And I was just like, poop or puke, poop or puke. And then someone was like, that might be like the little like fetus of an idea. Yeah. From that, someone suggested a First Browns match, and I was like, that's hilarious. Like a first brown instead of a first blood. But oh god, I think we've maybe I've spent too much time talking about poop on this podcast. I don't know, maybe not.
Oh my god.
You know what's funny though is that, I mean, you talk about equality in genders and all that in wrestling, like back in the day, you would never be like, "Oh my god, a woman just talked about poop on the radio," and people would have been like appalled. But I mean, at least it's becoming more normal. If it's becoming more acceptable,
you saying that with a question?
I guess I am. I don't know. I mean, like at times you wouldn't have felt comfortable coming on a male show talking about poop being a female, but now, I mean,
here we are. Go.
It's just the things. See, my brain just goes to, this is insane. Like, this is
groundbreaking.
Yeah, this is groundbreaking shit right here. Literally and metaphorically speaking at the same time.
I'm an artist pushing the envelope. Okay, in this industry, in life, God, I'm so avant-garde. I'm so ahead of my time. What can I say?
You're living it. You're living the life.
Living in the future.
You are. So segue. Speaking of the future and matches and whatnot you do have coming up, you have a championship match with Pro Wrestling Magic, I believe, a
Yeah.
triple threat match.
Triple threat match
Go ahead.
this Saturday for the this Saturday
No,
for the Pro Wrestling Magic Women's Championship against Riley Shepard and Jordan Blade. Very, very excited for that match. It's been a long time coming. Me and Riley were supposed to have a match forever ago, probably a year ago today or something like that, you know. So much starting like 1 year ago now. We're really getting into that point where things were starting to really fall apart and matches were getting canceled. So now it's like the 1 year anniversary of all the matches that didn't happen. And Riley was definitely a big one that I was super bummed about. So I'm like finally getting to work with her, and I've worked with Jordan a ton. I love Jordan Blade. So I'm really excited for this match. It's going to be good.
I recently got to watch, just came across Jordan Blade a couple of times, and I noticed that hard-hitting, technical, kind of throw you around and kind of beat you in the submission type style.
Yeah.
Now, is that something you're accustomed to going up against? Is that something that you what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, help me.
Preferred to go up against?
Yeah, there you go. That'll work.
It's definitely a style that I'm familiar with because I've trained with her and so many other people that are really well versed in like jujitsu, like she rolls Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's not like I would never win if in a like jiu-jitsu contest. Is that even the right word? But it definitely, that style, like I can hang with and I can keep up with just out of like habit in training. I've been fortunate to like be exposed to that style a lot. So it's not like my preferred style for how I work, but I'm definitely adept at, you know, facing people who work that style.
So what would you say your style is? Is it more of a catch wrestling?
I think I like to think of myself as like a power moves kind of gal. You know, like my influence, Andrew Test Martin. But yeah, I think I'm at a point in my career where I'm fleshing out my like athletic voice and my focus and my real style, because I've trained with people who do Olympic style wrestling. Obviously I've trained with people who are good at jiu-jitsu. I've trained with people who don't have a shoot background at all. I've trained with people who have that lucha background. So I've you know, scrap pieced a lot of different styles together so far. And I think now I'm starting to really hone in on what my voice and my style is. So I'm in flux right now, but I feel like I'm finding it. I'm finding my groove and my niche, so to speak.
All right. So something else that I picked up while watching you is that your facial expressions and your ability to draw emotion from your matches is very impressive. Where did you pick that up? Is that something you work on?
Tough to say. I think I've always been like a storyteller and kind of drawn to being the center of attention, some might say. I have a really embarrassing story of when I tried out for a play in high school, and it was a musical. So I like get up on stage and I go to sing the piece that you got to sing for the audition, and just like almost nothing comes out, like just like barely a whisper and a squeak. And like halfway through, I'm just like, I'm sorry. And I just like walk off stage. So no, I wasn't like in drama. I was not successful in that when I was younger. So I don't really know where it came from in terms of like practicing it or like learning it. I think I've always just had like a flair for like entertaining and storytelling and stuff like that, but not singing so much.
So you didn't get the part?
shockingly did not get the part. It is best not to apologize in the middle of an audition. Even if you're doing horribly, just like don't apologize. Oh God.
You almost got like, you probably got feel sorry for you points. You could have been like a tree in the background probably.
I think they did cast me as something like very small and like insignificant and in the background, and I was just like, don't worry about it, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, scratch my name off. Scratch my name off. I don't even want it. Thank you.
So Erica, earlier you were talking about, especially on social media, being yourself and pulling a little more of yourself into your tweets and stuff like that. Now with your character, when did you start to break out a little bit and start to find your character and become more comfortable with that character?
That's a great question. I think between like November and February or March 2019 into 2020, when I was training at the Wrestle Factory, I definitely was putting in a lot more time in ring, and so I was improving much more rapidly than before I made that move. And I feel like a lot of that time that I got to spend with people who are so much better than me really helped me to like find that character and express myself a lot more confidently. And then this past summer, I had a match with Billy Dixon at MV's Polycult Party. And I think that match specifically helped me tap into something a little bit more like competitive and athletic and serious and a little bit more intense than what I had done previously.
Now, is intergender wrestling something that you look forward to doing more of?
I do a fair amount of intergender wrestling now, and I'm more looking forward to working with other women at this point, just because that's like the thing I don't get to do, and I see all these really cool women that I want to work with, and for whatever reason, I just keep getting booked in intergender matches, which are fine, and gender's not real, so it doesn't really matter to me. But it is funny how like I got kind of like, I don't want to say pigeonholed because it's not bad. Like I don't feel negatively about it. But I've had more than one person tell me that like that's like what I'm known for more than like women's wrestling. So I do find that interesting. I don't know how that happened. But no, I'm just excited to work. There are definitely a lot of women that I want to work with.
All right, well, let's start speaking into an existence, and maybe we can.
I really want.
On your side.
I would love to work with Still Life. I think she's wonderful, a huge talent, great person. Willow Nightingale. What's that?
Even though she disowned you?
Okay, she didn't like disown me. It's just like the poo pee-pees were too much. She doesn't want to do a puke or poop. Like I can't blame her. For sure. Willow Nightingale. Katrid is someone who I was supposed to have a match with forever ago, and that's another one that just hasn't happened. I want to work with Ziggy Heim again. We have worked before, but it's been a while, and I feel like we've both improved so much that I want to run that one back. Max the Impaler, they are super cool, and again, a person that I worked when we were both a lot less experienced, so that would be cool to work with them again. There are a ton of people that like I see around, and I've been fortunate enough to spend time with in locker rooms, and I'm just like, I want to wrestle everybody. Like I just want to work everybody. I just want to be able to work every weekend and have all these matches and like, you know, things that aren't going to happen in 2021. We can hope. I don't know. Everybody wear 3 masks or something, but it's not looking great to get back on schedule anytime soon, is it?
No, unfortunately, it's not. With more people opening up when they shouldn't be. So
Yeah, and that's tough too. It's like every taping that I go to, like I get tested beforehand. I wear my mask while I'm there, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, like if we all don't do this, are we going to get back to normal quicker? I don't know. Probably not, right? Like there's every other industry running as well and doing a worse job at like testing and mask wearing. So it's a tough call, but it does feel like there's no individual action that could reverse the large scale mishandling of the pandemic, right?
I think independent promotions have more to lose where they don't have millions and billions of dollars backing them. So they could run one weekend and hurt themselves immensely and be done and have to close up shop. And some companies have had to do that anyway because they can't run shows. So,
yeah, it's true. It's
independent level. It's kind of, we're hoping for the best because out of all the wrestling that we're able to watch, I mean, independent is more what we kind of latch onto because there's just so much of it and it's just so unique and it has that, it has a different feel to it.
It's like going into an ice cream shop and you either have chocolate or vanilla, or you go into an ice cream shop and you have 100 flavors. There's so much more that you can digest and take in, and whether you like it or not, there's so much of it that you can move on to the next thing if you don't like it.
Yeah, very well put.
So Erica, going forward, like you said, if we eventually do open up and everyone opens up, what are your plans maybe past Camp Leapfrog? What are your goals? Where do you want to work? Is there a certain promotion you have your eye on?
Tough to say without being able to plan more than like 2 weeks in advance at this point. But I do know that I want to get to the Midwest. I would love to, in some capacity, work for Shimmer and Zello Pro. I would love to move, not move away from the East Coast, but I know there's more out there and there are more people to work and places to see than the East Coast, even though there's so much here. There's so much in the Philly area and New York and in Massachusetts. Like there's so much, and I haven't seen a tenth of it. There's so much more that I want to do on the East Coast, but I do want to go west and see what's up over there.
Are there any plans to head down to Tampa in April?
TBD, my friends. Don't know. Playing
we're getting scoops.
Yeah, we're really not good at that. We're not good at that at all.
We don't break anything on this show. I quit.
Breaking news. Poo poo pee pee girl is going to Florida.
And she's bringing gummy bears for everybody.
At least like a couple people. I'm not gonna share them with everybody,
But you're sponsored though. I mean, Albany's is a huge company, right?
Yeah. That's true. Sponsored athlete. I got gummy bears to spare. You're right.
Now is not a time to be stingy with your stash.
True. I just need to like individually pack them so we're not all reaching into the same bag.
Be pandemic safe, obviously.
I feel like that's a gimmick for you.
Yeah.
I feel like once you get a couple people in the crowd, that could be what you do. You just hand out some gummy bears to people.
Individually wrapped, pre-packaged. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Good way to turn heel too. You can just take them away from the people. Hand it to someone, just snatch it back. Nope, this is mine. And just shove them in your face.
I would angle so hard to turn heel every match, come out as a face and give out candy, and then take it all back. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm hungry.
Wait, but if you are the candy girl and you literally hand it to a small child or a baby, you can literally be the person that takes candy away from a baby in wrestling.
I would
just
love
throwing that out there. Right? I feel like after talking to you for 40 minutes, that would be perfect for you because I feel like I know you so well.
Like taking candy from a baby, Erica Leigh's favorite activity.
There we go. We broke news.
There you go. So Eric, I think we're gonna wrap up here. Before we go, if you want to promote obviously any social media or like you said, the show's coming up
or anything else you have coming up besides Pro Wrestling Magic.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about Pro Wrestling Magic, which is this weekend. You can buy the pay-per-view on Fight TV. On March 14th, on Valentine's Day, Camp Leapfrog will prevent Camp Love Frog. On March 28th, the Cassandra Cup will air on IWTV, and Camp Leapfrog is also on IWTV. So for the month of March, that's what I've got going on. February and March, yes, yeah.
Because I was confused. Wait, the Leapfrog show is March?
No,
February 14th.
it's
All right.
Valentine's
February
Day.
14th. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm a
I just
little
didn't want you to
distracted.
give the
I'm
wrong
so sorry.
information to the people. It's okay. It's okay.
February 14th.
We're not live.
That
No,
was me
not-
rewinding the
hey,
line.
fix that in post, all right?
You want me to do the
February
voiceover?
14th is Camp Love Frog. March 28th is Cassandra Cup. Now we're good.
Okay.
There we go. We got it. It's fixed.
It's fixed in
Everybody-
post.
Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And
Thank you,
hopefully
guys.
we'll be talking to you soon, and hopefully see you on a Camp Love Frog.
With a championship belt.
Woo! Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna win.
Exuding confidence. I like it.
Yeah, that's the headline. That's the scoop.
Erica, thanks so much again.
Thank you guys. Have a great night. Thanks for having me on.
You too.
You too.